Hello and greetings to everyone watching us today on this productivity talk. Welcome to this P-Talk, APO P-Talk, which is a series of discussion with international experts and productivity-related issues. I am Gul Taskiran Battal, Head of Department for Productivity Implementations, Ministry of Industry and Technology, Turkiye. I will be moderating today's P-Talk on smart green manufacturing. It's my great pleasure to welcome today's expert, Dr. Tsai-Chi Kuo, who is a professor at the Department of Industrial Management, National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, Republic of China. Welcome, Professor Kuo, and thank you very much for being here today.
Nice to meet you, and greetings to my APO friends. My name is Tsai-Chi Kuo, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Professor Kuo. I'm sure that our viewers are eagerly waiting for your presentation, but before starting, let me just briefly introduce you. Professor Kuo has researched sustainable product design and manufacturing and business models for many years. His current research interests include green supply chain management, green innovative product design, low-carbon product design, and product service systems. Professor Kuo has published more than 135 articles in various journals and conference proceedings. Many other journal articles have cited his papers as references. He has also served as a reviewer for many journals. He is also currently the director of the Research Center of STM 302. After briefly introducing our expert today, I just want a brief introduction to our topic today. As you all followed, COP26 held in November 20 and 21 kept alive our hopes of limiting the rise in global temperature 1.5 degrees Celsius as set out in Paris Agreement in 2015. The Glasgow Climate Pact, which was an outcome of COP26, is a global agreement to accelerate action on climate change in this decade with mitigation, adaptation, and collaboration. Industry, especially the manufacturing sector, is a major source of greenhouse gas emissions and pollution and consumes natural resources while it converts them into final products. It therefore has a major role to play in mitigating the effects on climate change and protecting the environment. This would allow nations to achieve their nationally determined contributions. Through multifaceted efforts and favorable policy formulation, industry can decouple economic growth from environmental degradation. Sustainability initiatives like green productivity and circular economy provide industry with a framework, including tools and methodologies, to enhance its productivity, profitability, overall growth with the least possible environmental impact. Owing to rapid technological advances like artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, the Internet of Things, machine-to-machine communications, and etc., industries are now experiencing a fundamental shift. The interconnection of machines, flows of data, technical assistance on manufacturing processes, and informed decision-making capability is referred to as Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 technologies allow manufacturing units to be smart while they are meeting diverse consumer needs, optimizing resource use, building smart supply chains, eliminating hazards, and automating processes. Industry 4.0 adaptation therefore gives enterprises a competitive edge and contributes to overall growth of businesses. Enterprises can leverage Industry 4.0 technologies and integrate them with sustainability concepts to transform their business models and achieve growth with the least possible environmental impact. Professor Kuo's presentation today on smart green manufacturing will provide insights on how enterprises can combine circular economy practices with Industry 4.0 practices and build smart supply chains. Examples showcasing positive outcomes of data-driven analysis to create sustainable solutions will also be given within the presentation. I just want to leave the floor to Professor Kuo now for his insights on his experiences with circular economy, Industry 4.0, and combining these new sources for the businesses. The floor is yours now, Professor Kuo.
Okay, thanks for Ms. Battle. thanks for your insightful introduction about the Industry 4.0 and the supply chain, and also like the sustainability, also like the green manufacturing. Hello. So next I want to start my presentation. And first, I want to thanks for the APO invitation to invite me to talk about the topic smart green manufacturing. My name is Tsai-Chi Kuo, and I'm from Department of Industrial Management and National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. This is my brief introduction, and I serve in the National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. And currently, I'm director of the research center of STM 302. The STM is the Sustainable Technology Management. I also serve as the committee member for our EPA, which is include the carbon footprint and the environmental labels. For these two committee members, I have a lot of experience to conduct the carbon inventory and calculate the carbon footprint. So right now, the carbon emission is a hot issue in Taiwan, and a lot of enterprise right now they are talking about what is the carbon emission of my enterprise and how should I conduct the carbon fee or carbon tax. So maybe I will introduce some idea in this lecture here. And here is the agenda that I want to introduce for my lecture. First, I will give you a very recap of the productivity. And also I will talk about the green productivity. And also since right now the technology is advanced very much, so the smart technology are used. And how can we use the smart technology into our green supply chain or green manufacturing? So I will talk about the issues about the smart green manufacturing. And I also will illustrate the 4 cases of the smart green manufacturing. And finally, I will conduct today's presentation and make the conclusion for our presentation here. Okay, in the beginning, let's talk about the productivity. I know that all the APO members or the APO peoples, we already understand what is the productivity. The definition of the productivity is a measure of the effective use of resources. Usually we are expressed as the ratio of output to the input. I think so far the output to the input, the ratio of the output to input is a very good indicator for us. We can use the ratio of output to the input, such as we can use like the hour divided by the money, or maybe the money divided by money here. And right now we can use it in the carbon emission divided by the money or divided by the hour here. So the productivity measure are very useful for us. Why they are useful? The first thing is that we can check the unit performance over time. So we can check our performance, such as like day by day, or month by month, or maybe week by week, or maybe year by year. The other one is that we can judge the performance of our entire industry or country. So from the country side or from national side, we can judge our performance. And before we just judge our productivity, which is our labor force or our resource forces. But right now we can use it in the carbon emission here. And next I will talk about previously the industry, they make a lot of effort because we try to produce a lot of good product or service to fulfill the people needs. So in this picture, you can see there are some such as like the environmental stress, such as like the air or noise, or maybe the waste, or maybe the toxic substance, or maybe we have the ozone problem here, and also the eutrophication here, and also we have the problem for limited resources. So from the traditional productivity, we try to use the ratio to calculate the input to output. But however, we also stretch our environment very much, especially we generate a lot of waste, or maybe we generate a lot of the air, the waste air, or maybe the waste water here. So it comes that we have several problems about if we didn't control our environmental stress or reduce the environmental impacts. So probably the human cannot be sustainable. So the sustainability issues is very important. Although the sustainability issues so far is only about 70 years, but sustainability is also very important. So this idea come back to the manufacturing people and try to advise them. Yeah, the manufacturing, you can provide some good service or good product to fulfill the customer need or maybe the human needs. But however, did you control your toxic material, or did you provide like the energy saving products, or maybe you can use the recycled products here. So based on the idea, so we can try to think about that the manufacturing is not only the manufacturing, we should have like the green manufacturing. So the other idea, the idea comes out based on the productivity. We have a new idea we call the green productivity. Actually, I know that the APO already spent a lot of efforts, probably more than 20 years, to promote the green productivity index here. So what is the green productivity? Green productivity is a strategy for enhancing a business productivity and the environmental performance at the same time for overall social economic development. I know that is not easy job for us. See from the definition, you can see the productivity is not only considered about the business productivity, but also consider about the environmental performance at the same time. So that is the confliction between the productivity and the environment here. For example, if I want to increase our productivity, probably our carbon emission will be greater than before here. So here is another problem right now, especially we try to reduce our carbon emission. See, the enterprise people, they want to get more order because they can earn more profit here. But however, they also need to control the carbon emission. Furthermore, they need to reduce the carbon emission here. And so the green productivity reconcile two needs that are often conflict here. The first one is the profit. The second one is how can we protect our environment. I think that is a conflict problem here, not only in the green productivity, but also consider about our resource. Because as mentioned before in the last slide, I already mentioned is that our resource is limited. So that give us some, efforts that we need to try to think about. Can we have a green productivity efforts, or can we try to enhance our green productivity? So that is a dilemma problem for us to solve it here. So basically, from the traditional, we have the objective of green productivity, such as we will ask the enterprise to conduct the green design and the manufacturing. So what is the green design and manufacturing issues here? Normally, it will include the 5 issues here. The first one is that we try to greening the supply chain. Here, you can see I put the greening, not the green the supply chain. Actually, green supply chain is the result of the supply chain to be green. But right now, we are still working on greening the supply chain. It means we are still working on how can we green our supply chain day by day and year by year here. The second one is that how can we try to control our water resource, because we know our water is limited. So the water resource is also very important. So in Taiwan, we have a lot of manufacturing, especially for the semiconductor industry. The semiconductor industry use a lot of water and energy. So the water resource is very important issue, especially we want to talk about the green productivity. And the third one is the energy efficiency here. I think that right now, the energy efficiency is not only the problem in Taiwan, but also in the whole world here. I'm not exactly know what is outside of Taiwan, but see, that's the year. In Taiwan, we have 2 times of shortage about the electricity. And the electricity comes from the energy because we use a lot of coal to burn and generate the electricity here. So the energy efficiency is very important here. And the result of the energy is the carbon emission. So we should build the clean development mechanism here. So what is the clean development mechanism? It means that we should have like from the design manufacturing, but also we have the commercial mechanism, and also we should have the waste mechanism, recycling mechanism here. And finally, is the solid waste management. I know that in Taiwan, we have a problem how we will generate a lot of waste. And see, recently in Taiwan, we are talking about we try to zero emission of the waste. But before we try to reduce the solid waste, how can we, go back to use the green design and the manufacturing to avoid to generate the solid waste? So I just highlight these five objective is the traditional green productivity, because why did I say that is a traditional? Because uh, Ms. Battle just mentioned about the COP26, right? Before 26, when people talk about the green productivity, we will not try to link the money here. But right now in Taiwan, we will use the carbon fee to calculate how much money will you generate the carbon emission. And the more carbon emission you generate, the more carbon fee you need to pay for it. Right now in Taiwan, we are still working on the policy, and we will pass the law immediately, probably in the end of this year. We will pass the law. What is the law means? It's called climate change carbon emission carbon fee, the law here. So the contents or the insight is that if the enterprise you generate the carbon emission and you need to pay the carbon fee. And this is also considered with the European, they are talking about the C-band right now, because the C-band will ask the manufacturer to pay the carbon tax here. So this is the simultaneously together. And I also know that there are more than 100 countries already announced that they will set the net zero carbon emission to reduce the carbon emission right now. So that is also the traditional manufacturing we have. We will talk about a lot of directives. I know that in APO, there are a lot of friends already joined the APO. You must understand there are several directives, such as ROHS, restriction of the hazardous substance, also the REACH, the substance of very high concern here. And also we are talking about the WEEE, means that the waste electronic and the electrical facility recycling. And right now we have a more problem about the energy and the GHGS. And right now in Taiwan, about the energy, the Taiwan government already announced that we don't have the nuclear energy in Taiwan. But see, right now I know that outside of Taiwan, there are some countries are also talking about the nuclear energy. Although the nuclear energy is not very safe, but from the carbon emission perspective, we will think about the nuclear is the decarbon energy for the energy support here. So comes from the energy, that is the GHG emission, which is the greenhouse gas emission here. So I will just say that is the traditional, we will talk about the ROHS, REACH, and the WEEE energy and the GHG here. And we try to solve the problem, try to reduce the pollution, and try to have a more good management of the material and the resources, and also try to reduce our environmental impacts here. So I just have a brief review about the productivity and the green productivity, and also we are talking about the issues before. And right now we have a new concept we call the sustainability. Actually, it is not a new idea. The sustainability already talked more than about 30 years before. But recently, after the COVID-19, and in Taiwan, many enterprises, they think about the sustainability is very important. See, why did they think about the sustainability is very important? As I mentioned before, let's say last year in Taiwan, we have 2 times of shortage about the electricity. So people think about why do we have it? Maybe because last year we don't have a rain for more than 6 months. So people think about the water resource is very important. And also in Taiwan, we also have a PM 2.5 problem. because the air is not so clear, especially in Taichung City. So people think about how can we reduce the pollution, and also we try to manage our water resource and also the climate change here. And the other one is we talk about the material resource, because in Taiwan, we don't have too much material resource here. So here, I say that in Taiwan, we are thinking about the pathway. So what is the pathway? The pathway means that if I want to live in the future, how should I do right now? What is the activity? What is the decision I make today can make sure that I can live in the near future? So this is in this year, I see that there is a very outbreak of the sustainability. Actually, I always said that there are two outbreaks in Taiwan from the last year to this year. One is the COVID-19, and the other one is the sustainability. People in Taiwan, especially for the manufacturer side, they are talking about the ESG, which is the environment and social and the governance here. So the sustainability in Taiwan right now, especially in the year of 2022, is a very significant issues for the enterprise here. So basically, I will see that from the green design and manufacturing, from the traditional idea I have, then right now I will talk about how can we conduct the circular economy to have a more management about the energy and the resource, and also how can we change our organization structure, and how can we change our manufacturing the flow to meet the net zero emissions. And also the other idea is the sustainable supply chain management. So what does that mean, sustainable supply chain management? Because in the supply chain management, we need to talk about the governance and the environment and the social. And also in the year of 2015, the UN already announced the SDG, which is the Sustainable Development Government, the goals. And there are 17 SDGs. So the manufacturing side in Taiwan, we start from the green design and the manufacturing. Then we talk about the circular economy and the net zero emission, and also the green sustainable supply chain. Then we try to link to the UN SDGs. So how can we do that one? See, before we already tried, but in the Miss Battles, she mentioned about we have like the adaptation, and also we have the reduction here. So maybe we can use the new technology, such as the Industry 4.0, this advanced technology and this connected technology, maybe can help us to try to have some progress in the green manufacturing. I just say that some progress, because actually to solve the problem of green manufacturing is not very easy. But maybe we can use the new approach or new technology, such as the Industry 4.0, to help us. So next, I will switch from the sustainability to the next issue, where I will talk about the smart manufacturing. In Taiwan, we spent a lot of 5 years how to conduct the manufacturing to be the smart manufacturing. So in this slide, you can see that from the manufacturing side, they try to get more data because they have a quality problem. They also have the delivery problem. They also have the customer fulfillment problems. So people in Taiwan, especially for the manufacturing side, they will think about, yeah, we have the sensor, we can have an RFID. So if we can connect machine to machine, then we probably can talk. I mean, the talk means that the machine can talk to the machine because the machine is connected to machine. And also the machine can connect it to the human, and human also can connect it to the machine. So basically from the smart manufacturing here, we build up the perception from the sensor by using the sensor and the RFID. Then we try to build a network together. We can use the router, and also we can build the access point. Then we can use the network, try to apply into our manufacturing or home or maybe the city here. So we can have a smart city, smart home, and the smart manufacturing. And in this slide, I will talk about the smart manufacturing to be my focus here. So we can see that from the perception layer, we can try to acquire the data from the environment with the help of sensors and actuators. Then in the middle of the network layers, we try to serve the function of data routing and the transmission to different IoT hubs and the device over the internet. And for the application layer, the purpose of IoT is try to create the smart environment when we achieve here. So look at this one. I say the environment is very important. So what is that smart manufacturing? Smart manufacturing means that I have a smart manufacturing environment. And in this environment, the data can be connected, the data can be created, and the data can be connected, and the machine or the facility can be connected together. So through the connected equipment, we quite try to have a good communication. Then probably we can solve the manufacturing problem here. So after I just introduced the solution of the smart manufacturing, so I will highlight there are two problems for the green manufacturing here. The first problem is that can we have a good energy and the waste recycling, which we call that is the circular economy. The circular economy is different with the 3R, which is the reduce, reuse, and recycle. See, in the previous, we will talk about the green manufacturing will include the 3R, which is the reduce, reuse, and recycle. But when we conduct the circular economy, we will think about the economy will drive our circular cycle here. So for the circular economy, I will say the circular cycle of economy. It means that the economy will push the circular cycle to be more fast and more rotative here. And the other issue is the net zero. We call that is the carbon emission reduction. So basically previous, we will think about the carbon emission is not the cost, it's just the emission. But right now in Taiwan, the carbon emission is kind of a cost. It's kind of the value that we need to emphasize here. So here I just mentioned about the circular economy. Actually, in the last 8 years, in Taiwan, we already promote the circular economy more than 8 years. So what is the circular economy? Circular economy means that it depicts a production and a consumption system. So when we conduct the circular economy, we not only perform the 3R, we also need to think about, can we have a new business model? How can we change the consumption pattern? And how can we have a new business model or system here? I think the IoT could help us because the internet technology can help us to connect it machine to machine and facility to facility. So probably we can use the IoT to change the consumption here. And several the area of the directed or indirected contribution to the circular economy, such as we can use the sustainable resource management, and also we can change our behavior, such as we can use a lot of IoT system to help us. And also we have a new business operation here. So since ROC is crowded and heavily relies on imported resources, so it's better for us to change from the linear economy model and transit to a circular economy. So here I just use the transition, not use the change, because the change means that immediately, but transition means that change gradually. Actually, if we want to change from the linear economy model to be a circular economy, we need to spend a lot of effort, and we need to educate our people to understand what is the circular economy. So with the transition of the circular economy, it can help us to balance the economy and the stabilization development and try to minimize the burden of our environment here. But however, I also want to highlight the barriers to our circular economy. And actually, you can see here, the one barrier is the culture here. So what is the culture? Because the people didn't want to, they are not willingness to collaborate with the value chain. And also the consumer, they don't understand and they don't have any awareness about the circular economy. And also the technology is the most important barrier and is the difficult barrier to be conquered in the circular economy, because we need to have a circular design, or maybe we try to deliver high quality. But the most important here is the lack of data. So here is also the IoT can help us, because IoT can help us to collect the data. So all the circular economy should be data driven. Because once we have the data, then we can drive the enterprise to conduct the circular economy. And if we have that one, then we also need to create our market, especially for the second-hand product market, or maybe the recycled product market. If we don't have a market, then even though we can generate a lot of recycled product, but people still didn't want to use it. So we need to understand the market, where is our customer need, and where is our market here. Finally, I think that is the circular economy very important is the regulation here. Since right now we are talking about the circular design, so the regulation probably will be different to the before here. For example, in Taiwan, so far we still have a problem is that it is limited to use the second recycled container for the food here, because the Taiwan government think about during the recycling process, probably the container is the containment during the recycling process here. So far, the law is still limited for the recycled container to be used for the food. But the enterprise want our government to change it, but so far still struggling. I mean, I just take example for the regulation. So that is the barrier for us to conduct the circular economy here. And also the other issue I talk about the carbon reduction, and basically from the last year from the COP26, and we already understand the global warming should be well controlled under the 2 degree Celsius, but preferable to be 1.5 degree C here. So that is very important. And basically here, I think that is a milestone for us. People right now in Taiwan, we set the 2 milestones here. One is the year for the 2030, and the other milestone is the 2050. And so far in Taiwan, we still say that we want to conduct the reduction, how much percentage for the carbon emission before 2030. But however, we already announced until 2050, the Taiwan will be net zero carbon emission. So basically here, in not only in the government, but also the enterprise and the people, we try to promote the net zero emission for the 2050. So right now, a lot of enterprise in Taiwan already announced they will generate the carbon neutral products, and they also will conduct the carbon net zero carbon emission before 2050 here. So I think that it's kind of like from 2 sides of it. Industry 4.0 is supposed to be a good technology or maybe good tools for us. And the circular economy or the carbon reduction or for the green manufacturing is kind of domain problem here. So we can try to link this technology with our domain problem. So that's why we say we try to promote the green manufacturing, smart green manufacturing here. So here you can see there are a lot of technologies such as data analysis, or maybe cyber physical system, or maybe the cost design, or maybe compatibility, and also the automation system and visualization and cloud computing. So I think that the people, especially for the manufacturing people, you should think about, could we use the smart technology to solve us the green manufacturing problem here. So that is my points here for today's presentation here. And here I just take an example, such as like the enterprise to conduct the circular economy with 4.0. So from here, you can see this is actually the Gogoro in Taiwan, because in Taiwan, we have the shared motorcycle system here. And in the Gogoro, you can see that they just put the IoT in the battery. So the Gogoro company, they can watch and monitor the usage of battery. And maybe the battery is not good enough, so they can just change it immediately because they can monitor the battery life here. So, and also the battery can share it. And also we just leasing the battery together. So everybody can use the system to lease the Gogoro. So right now, if you come to Taiwan, I suggest you try to, ride the Gogoro share motorcycle one time, or maybe you also can use like the U-bike here. The U-bike is a motorcycle system in Taiwan here. So when we consider about the supply chain, or especially for the smart supply chain, I think the supply chain right now is a very complex and dynamic, especially after the COVID-19. See, I think the supply chain, originally the supply chain is a global, but right now the supply chain try to reduce to be the local supply chain here. So I think that if we can, the other issue is that we can use the Industry 4.0, then try to apply to our supply chain, and maybe we still can reduce our material, and also we can think about the energy saving and also the classical reduction here. And here is the digital era with the supply chain here. So you can see we have an internal level and the supply chain level, and also from the client server level, and also try to be the intelligent decisions here. So I just give you a very brief introduction and theory in the productivity and the green productivity and smart productivity. And right now, I want to introduce 4 cases. And these 4 cases are real industry 4 cases here. The first case is the LCD panel shipping. So for the LCD company, they try to think about every time they just use the one time use the panel, the box to ship the panel. So can they conduct a good recycle panel recycle box to be together? But if they want to reduce it, the recycle box will have a higher cost than before. So they think about, if I want to use the recycle box, they should build a system here. So here is the challenge, is that they not only need to fulfill the functionality requirement, but also need to maintain the quality and the maintenance level, finance and turnover rate. So I just help them to use a reusable finished product shipping box logistics system, and then try to redesign the product and try to evaluate the cost. And also we try to evaluate the carbon emission in this system here. So you can see here is more clearly, and the left side is model, and the right side is the to be model. So we try to use the recycle box together, and we try to standardize the box, because in the company they have several different kind of box together. If they want to recycle, the first step is try to standardize the box, and also they use the IoT to record when the box is arrival and when the box is lifted from the customer here. And the second case, the material resource reduction. And why I say that one? Because in the company, they will focus the needs from the customer. So they try to utilize and try to reduce the resource here. So they think about the Industry 4.0 maybe can integrate in this system. So they also need to integrate the Industry 4.0 in this system. So what I call that one is the smart material resource management. So they put the IoT for each order, and then they with the data share with the customer, because the customer will tell the manufacturer what is the demand. Although the forecast demand is still uncertain, but from that one, the manufacturer, they can try to estimate their customer needs from the forecast. So this is the idea for us. So they can leverage the big data from the customer forecast data. Then they can try to build their inventory to try to reduce the loss of inventory here. And the third one is the case for the delivery performance improvement. And in these cases, the enterprise try to control the due date, because the customer always say, how come you just passed the due date? How come you cannot be on time for your inventory or your transportation? So here we just use like the RFID, and then we also use the serial constraint and try to control the work in process and try to manage their work in process system here. So the problem here, you can see that they will build a lot of buffer to protect the WIP, but through this system they can reduce the buffer for the WIP here. So here you can see we put a lot of RFID in each workstation. So through the RFID, they can monitor when the WIP will go to the next stop. So for each stop, they can control and calculate the time when they arrive and leave here. So the result is that they can really control their delivery time, and also their delivery performance will be on time 100%. I think that is a good idea for us. So from here, you can see that is a visualization system we have here. And the last case is the environmental impact assessment. And this case is for the semi-industry here, because as I mentioned here, the energy and the water resource is a very important issue in Taiwan, especially we don't have too much energy here, and also the water resources. But see, from the manufacturing side, for the semiconductor, they start from the narrow scale manufacturing, and right now they already reduced to be the 3 million. So can we when we talk to the net zero carbon emission, so how can we reduce the carbon emission through the especially for the industry here? So we just try to use the LCA method and try to help them to find the significant indicator. There are 4 indicators we have. The first one is the GHG control, the second one is the water, and the third one is the PM 2.5. And finally is the 4 is the resource use, the minor metals here. So you can see here, when the semi-industrial company, they have a new product such as the narrow scale products, based from the 40 and reduced to be the 30 and finally to go back to the 20 here. And you can see the environmental impact reduced when their product or the progress improved here. So I think that is also good results for our semi-industry, especially in Taiwan. The emphasis of semi-industry is our focus, especially our government to promote this industry very much. So from result, we can see, in Taiwan, it is good to conduct the industry here. Although we don't have too much energy or water, but it's still good industry for us in Taiwan here. And also we find that from the life cycle design or stage here, we will see there are different percentage in the manufacturing side and the material side. So that is also a good idea for the people to make the decision here. So finally, I want to conclude my presentation here. The green manufacturing is a very important issue for our sustainability. And the industry 4.0, let's start from the data-driven, and they is the connected technology. So probably we can use the industry 4.0 to bring the sustainable solution and try to reduce the material reduction here. And also the industry 4.0, let's start from the voice of customer. So maybe we can integrate the different enabling technology together, such as we can have the CRM together and the manufacturing and also the ERP together and also the supply chain management together here. And that will be a good for us. So I think that is the very brief introduction about the smart green supply chain. And I hope that my sharing can give you some idea in the area of the smart green manufacturing here. And thanks. So let's back to the Ms. Battal.
Thank you very much, Professor Kuo, for your presentation. And your presentation gave us a better understanding of technology as an enabler to reduce carbon footprints of enterprises, to enhance their productivity, reduce material usage, consumption, and make data-driven decisions. So I really want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you very much. And if you allow me, I would like to start with some questions now.
Okay.
First of all, how smart green manufacturing is contributing to the efforts for net zero carbon emissions at the national level in the Republic of China? Could you please explain us?
Okay, I think that that is also a very good problem in Taiwan right now, because see, in Taiwan, we already have a very good infrastructure for the smart manufacturing, but for the carbon emission control, so far still in the beginning here. But I think that in my idea, I think that see, if we want to go back to, if we want to talk to the net zero, the first important thing is that we need to understand how much carbon emission right now we have for the enterprise. So can we use the smart technology to gather the idea or to get the data? Where did the carbon emission comes from, and how much the carbon emission right now we have for the enterprise, maybe annually? Then we can try to develop some strategy, try to reduce it. So to answer your question, I think that the IoT could help us to get where did the energy, where did the carbon emission comes from, and how much carbon emission right now we have, and then how can we reduce it. I think that is my idea right now.
Thank you very much. And I just want to have another question. I'm just wondering, what are the approaches to implement smart green manufacturing at the enterprise level?
Okay, yeah, to enterprise the smart green manufacturing for the enterprise level, I think it must start from the CEO level, because see, when we talk about the carbon emission reduction, and also we want to build the smart technology, most of the time we need to spend the money, and I mean we need to invest some facility. So if we cannot get the permission from the maybe like the top management level, such as the CEO, we probably cannot solve the problem. So to answer your question, I think that at least we need to have the top management level here, especially we want to have a financial investment here. So I think that top management support is very important here.
And speaking of finance needs for these implementations, smart technologies need huge capital investments, as you just mentioned. And the managements may, of course, question the return on investment and the reduction in carbon emissions. How enterprises in Republic of China address the issue of relating to financing the smart technologies?
Okay, yeah. Actually, we are in our government. We have some program such as the subsidy for the enterprise to construct the smart technology. And right now, for the carbon emission reduction, since in Taiwan we already announced the net zero is our goal, right? So the government already will also subsidy the program for the smart green manufacturing here. And I think that right now in Taiwan, the government will, charge the company for the carbon fee, right? And the other one, if the government got the money from the carbon fee, they will also have a subsidy program for the enterprise. So to answer your question is that how can we finance into the smart technology? I think that the enterprise in Taiwan need to write a proposal, and how can they use the smart technology into the green manufacturing. Once that is a good idea, I think that will be very, they will get the financial from the government. Also from the private sector here, I think that in Taiwan, there are a lot of financial company. They will also think about the ESG is very important. So if the enterprise, they want to conduct some like the green manufacturing with the smart technology, I think they also can get some, loan payment from the financial company here.
And Professor Kuo, I just want to ask you, what are the approaches to measure the economic benefits and carbon emission reductions achieved through Industry 4.0 technologies and sustainability concepts like circular economy and green productivity?
Okay, yeah, I think that your question is very good. I think that in this year in Taiwan, we have a new idea about the ESG, as I mentioned in my presentation here. So what is the ESG role in the company here? And people in Taiwan, they conduct ESG, so they will build an indicator for the ESG here. For example, for the environment, they will try to build some indicator for the carbon reduction and water usage, and also how the GHG carbon emission per year. So here in Taiwan, the enterprise already built some environmental indicator in their CSR report or in the sustainability report. So they also, as I mentioned, that they also set the carbon fee here. I say that the internal carbon fee. So the enterprise will use the carbon fee to measure their the profit and try to make the decision when they conduct the investment here. So people in Taiwan right now, we think the financial program with our environmental indicator together, and they try to revise their benefit calculation in Taiwan here. I think that is the in this year. It just happens from this in the beginning of this year.
Thank you very much. And when I remember your presentation, you mentioned 4 barriers, which are the cultural, technological, market, and regulatory barriers. Speaking of these 4 types, which one is the most significant when attempting to adopt circular economy practices in business processes? What do you think?
I think that there are 4 barriers, right? And I think the most important barrier is the market. If we want to have a circular design, we need to create the market here. And so what is the market? Market means the customer need, right? So I think that in the 4 cases, I think that the first cases will be good one, because the first case is a circular design, and then there is the market for the circular design. And for the other one, for the case 2 and case 3, I think that is from the internal needs from the customer manufacturing side. And for the case 4 is the from the I think national level, because we are considered about the carbon reduction here. So yeah, I think that for the barrier is the if you ask me, I will say the first cases will be very good for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And another question coming into my mind is related to the standards. As we all know, standards play a vital role. They are guiding enterprises actually in selecting methodologies and approaches they use to achieve the desired results to meet customer needs. So could you please highlight international standards specifically related to the concepts in your presentation, Industry 4.0 and circular economy, namely?
Okay, so far in the international standard to the circular economy and the Industry 4.0, I didn't see much right now, but I will say the BC 8000 will be a good international standard for the circular economy here. And Industry 4.0 is the tool. So I think that we can use the Industry 4.0 tool to support the BC 8000 here.
Your presentation, you mentioned that, and in the brief I gave, we mentioned that all countries are designing their policies towards these sustainability issues. Do you see any policy gaps at the Asia-Pacific regional level hindering the adoption of Industry 4.0 technologies and sustainability concepts, and how to address those gaps?
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you for your question here. I think to answer your question, I think that the gap is the financial investment. See, for the Industry 4.0, we need to invest our facility. And if we want to conduct the carbon emission reduction, we also need to spend money for the investment. So I think the bigger hindering the adoption of Industry 4.0 and the sustainability concept is that the enterprise need to have an idea to conduct investment. So it's kind of like the midterm or maybe long-term problem for the enterprise here. But see, right now in Taiwan, we are trying to educate the manufacturing people or maybe the enterprise there. When they publish their CSR report or maybe the sustainability report, they need to describe their midterm goal and the long-term goal, such as like the SDG right now. Because see, I think I remember in the year of 2015, the UN already, educated our human to have a sustainable development goal for the 17 goals, right? So yeah, as for the right now, we are talking about the 2050. So people in Taiwan will think about, if I did not conduct the investment for our future, how can we have the future here? So I think that to answer your question is that we need to educate, and we need to that the enterprise people know how can they spend the money for the investment for the Industry 4.0 and the sustainability here, and how can they get back from the investment here.
Thank you very much. As far as I understand, all of the countries has a lot of work to do. They have to design policies, they have to educate young people, they have to lead the way to the enterprises, both the developed countries and the less developed countries. So thank you very much for your informative presentation. Your presentation and your answers to the questions show the pathway for industry to follow for robust growth and resource conservation, actually, and through data-driven analysis, most importantly. Thank you once again. And I just want to ask you, do you have a final message for our viewers?
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Battle. Yeah, it's glad to to talk with you. And yeah, I think that I'm very glad to join this talk. And yeah, thanks for the IPO to invite me. And if you have any problem, and you can just send an email to me to my you can try to find my email in my homepage. And thanks a lot. Thank you.
Once again, we thank you, Mr. Professor Kuo. Thank you for giving this P-Talk, and APO looks forward to your cooperation in the future and your guidance, of course. And I have a message for our viewers. Dear viewers of today's P-Talk, please leave your questions and comments on today's topic on APO's YouTube channel chat box, and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. And also, Mr. Kuo shared his email account. You can also connect with him. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our YouTube channel for continuing updates on current issues related to productivity. Stay safe and productivity, everyone. Thank you for being with us today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.